has paved the way in the specialist liability sector, and she goes by one name, much like Beyonce or Cher or Madonna, Melita.
Good company. Thanks, Mamoeti. Probably closer to Madonna and Cher than the others, but there we go.
Honestly, Melita, if anyone has to talk about what we do in specialist liability, there's often times that we'll just say Melita. We won't necessarily say your full name, Melita Thurling. But this has been a little bit of a meandering journey, and you found yourself here years later at iTOO Special Risks.
Yes.
What has this journey meant to you, transitioning from where you started in law to coming into insurance? Has it all been a blur at this stage, or does it feel like you just started yesterday?
A little bit of both, actually. It's that weird thing where time goes slowly, but it also seems to happen all at once. And you wake up one day and you can't believe that you spent this amount of time in insurance and in the industry, and even at iTOO, the sort of younger part of my journey in terms of time spent. So yeah, law was great. I sometimes miss it.
Interesting.
But I haven't regretted my move into insurance one little bit. I think it's really enriched my life. It's given me the opportunity to have work-life balance, which I think often in the legal profession you don't always have. Mm-hmm. I think I would have been fine as a lawyer, but I do think that insurance has kind of added a different perspective to how I view the world and how I live my life. So for me, it's worked really, really well. And the discipline and the skills I learned as a lawyer, I apply every day to this day. So it's been a good base to start in law, and particularly in the liability space. But even outside of liability, the skills you have as a lawyer are really easy to transport into the everyday things that you do.
Mm-hmm. And a common theme has been and is always just in the general conversation of how did you get into insurance? Often people will say they fell in.
Yes.
And they
it
stumbled
chooses
along.
You don't choose it,
yes,
right? Yeah,
it's amazing how consistently that people say that answer.
Yes.
Was it a bit more deliberate on your part?
I guess it was, although the opportunity wasn't deliberate. So I was in practice. Hollard was a client of mine. And the group legal counsel of Hollard at the time invited me for a coffee, which I thought was a bit strange. So I thought something was up. And it turned out she was wanting to move more into the business area, and she was looking for someone to take her place. So she knew me because we'd worked in the law firm together, actually, before she became Hollard Group Legal Counsel. And I thought about it. I thought about Hollard, which at that time was really, and even today, it wasn't your typical corporate. I think I would have died if I'd gone into the typical corporate. As it is in the law firm, I struggled a bit with how I dressed, attitude. I didn't quite fit into the corporate lawyer mold. So for me, it was actually a great opportunity to work with people like Miles Jaffet and Bert Carlin, and it was, and Paolo actually at that time. So all those years ago, I met him in an interview when I was coming across to Hollard. And for me, it was a really good move. So, yeah.
But there's so much synergy with the legal field and insurance, just in terms of risk, understanding, all of the different elements that we do. So it wasn't a loss to you in terms of your previous life.
No, and in fact, sorry to interrupt, but as a lawyer, I was involved in insurance law, so there was actually a lot of overlap. And in fact, the other thing that's really, I think you've hinted at, is that like in law, it's not just the subject matter of insurance itself. You get into the lives and the skills and the requirements of every business that you insure to a certain extent. Obviously, you can't do a deep dive, but you, like a lawyer who has a case, you need to understand what your client's business is about, what's gone wrong, how it works, how it takes. Insurance is exactly the same sort of approach. We've got to sort of get into the shoes of our clients, understand their business, which helps us to then apply our insurance thinking to that particular scenario. So there's a lot of overlap there. And that's what's so cool about it, because you get to know about bridges and dams and running a business, or whatever the element is that you're insuring, you get to grips with, particularly in the liability space. So that's a really cool part of what we do.
I always say once you're in insurance, you don't view life the same way. You can't drive down the
Yeah.
street without thinking this is a liability
I
or you're
know,
familiar
I
with
know.
this. It just
You
kind of
drive past
changes
a headline and you're, oh no, I hope that wasn't one of ours. So yes, it's very much in touch with what's going on in the world, socially, politically, economically. It touches on all of those aspects.
Yeah. And it has taken you to the world because there was a
Yes.
period of time where you left South Africa to pursue a different type of insurance journey in India.
Yes.
How did that come about and what did you gain from that experience?
That was a little crazy, but it was actually fabulous for me and for, in fact, our whole family because we all moved across there. I had been group legal counsel. I'd been doing some compliance stuff at Hollard. It had been a while, and I thought there was perhaps, it was time for a change. I wasn't exactly sure what the change was. And I remember actually, I think the ad for the role to go to India as sort of a country representative came through kind of early December. And we were away on holiday, on our annual December holiday, and I just mentioned casually to my husband on the beach that there was this role in India, thinking that he would say, never in your life, don't even consider it for a second. And he said, why don't you apply? And we started chatting about it, and it turns out he was also ready for a change. He was a little frustrated and was ready to also do something different. And I applied and got the job. And off we went to India. I think we went in February of the following year just to go have a look-see. And then by June, we had moved across as a family. My kids I have twins, and they were about 5, and my older daughter was 7 at that time. So for them, it was also a radical change.
Absolutely.
But I think quite good timing from a family perspective. And it was just amazing. A challenge, of course. Always when you're living in somewhere new, and India in particular, we knew it was going to be so different to our experience here, but it was just amazing, and we learned a lot. And I actually see it as a gift that I gave to my children to have spent just under 3 years there, going to school there, learning about the culture, realizing that the world is a very big place and not just about our little patch here in South Africa, learning to be more tolerant, learning to have a much wider view of the world. So, for me, it was really fabulous, and I'm very grateful to Hollard for having given me that opportunity, which I'll always have, and my kids will always have. If they go for a job interview or something and they say, I went to school in India, you immediately have the ability to have a conversation about something different. So, it was really good for us.
And just because of South Africa's ties to India, I think people think that, there'll be some similarities, but you had to assimilate, and you had to, not assimilate, but you had to integrate into the society. What did you gain from being alien, so to speak, in an environment where everything else is not necessarily built around you like it is maybe at home?
Yeah, I think, you learn skills that you just never thought you had. You learn to be diplomatic. You learn to be open. You learn to be a lot more tolerant. You learn to listen and to observe and see how other people do things and to learn from that. So, and you learn also that, your way is not necessarily always the right way. And these are all good things. These are all good skills. And to adapt, of course, that's the essence of it.
Yeah.
You've got to make the best of that environment. And India is definitely a place, I think a little like South Africa, where if you focus on everything that's wrong, you'll never kind of get out of that hole, and that's all you will ever see. Whereas if you look at what's good and what's valuable and what's beautiful, then your whole sort of focus shifts, and you can kind of get and gain from that rather than just focusing on the negative. It's very easy to focus on the negative. There is a lot of things that are problematic there, of course, as here. But I think it's all about your perspective and what you spend your time and pay attention to.
Yeah. Did it give you an appreciation for home?
Absolutely. We came back and we couldn't believe how amazing South Africa was, because India has challenges too, except you add zeros onto their challenges, right, compared to us. But yes, it was wonderful to come back to South Africa. Of course, after a while, the honeymoon kind of wears off again, and certain things that irritated you before now become problematic again, and you sort of it loses a little of the shine that you have but it was lovely coming home. It was just amazing. Even if we got on the SAA flight, the minute we heard a South African accent coming back, it was just fabulous. It was really, really, really good to be back here and home.
Yeah, I think we don't often take heed of how privileged we are in the country. A lot of us obviously have extreme challenges. We are quite aware of the challenges that we have locally, but there's opportunity as well. How have you found in your journey navigating your work life? Because it's almost it's an important conversation, but when talking about women leading in their field, navigating this environment, South Africa's also had to grow in that area as well. Do you feel that you have a certain regard for the opportunities you've been given? And how have you created those opportunities for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a woman, it is hard. You have to juggle things. Of course, men have to too. But I think it generally falls to the woman in our society to kind of look after the kids, to kind of make sure the home's okay. I've been very fortunate. I have a very supportive family who muck in all the time and who support me in my career and give me the scope to do all the things that I'd like to do. And then, yes, I've also had opportunity, and it's a little of, I guess, you do well and people give you the opportunity based on how you've been working or how they see you. And at other times you almost have to kind of muscle in yourself and grab that opportunity, because no one's just going to give it to you, and kind of make sure that you're in the right place at the right time to be able to grab it. But yeah, I think the woman thing is tricky. But, and we've got a long way to go, but I do think we're getting better. I would love to see more women leaders in insurance. If I look at the number of women who work in insurance and the number of women leaders in insurance, there's definitely a disparity there. And we should be seeing a lot more of those really, wonderful quality women coming through and leading the insurance industry. I think we've got a lot to offer.
Yeah. Do you take a deep breath when the subject comes up? Because being that you're a key leader within this business and, young, especially women coming up in the business, want somebody to look to say, how do I navigate this space? Yeah. Does it feel like something that you have to carry with a specific type of attitude as to how you engage with the topic? It does come up a lot, but you're the representative that a lot of people have.
It is a difficult one. So I think you do need to be careful and mindful of the fact and aware of the fact that you are looked up to and that people do watch what you do and pay attention to it. Although I do think I get away with murder sometimes, but
some might say.
So you do need to be mindful of that. At the same time, you also need to be authentic and true to yourself and not just behave in a certain way because that's how you think you should behave, as opposed to that's who you are. So hopefully those two come together and you're behaving appropriately and you're being true to yourself and authentic. But yes, it's not something I pay a huge amount of attention to, but every now and then something will happen or someone will say something and I'll think, oh yes, that's something I do need to be aware of. I'm not good at deliberate mentoring and, formal kind of situations, but I do believe that the way you conduct yourself, how you work, and if you work closer to other women, for me, that kind of almost osmosis that occurs where they watch how you do things, how you behave, how you interact, whether you're strong and you stand up for yourself and hopefully stand up for others. Yeah. Whether that's the sort of thing I prefer to do rather than to have like a formal mentoring session. I would find it quite hard, I think, to have that and to know exactly what to say. So I think the more natural kind of behaviors that go on are the ones I hope that sort of speak for themselves and are powerful and are seen and taken heed of by younger women coming up or even other women in the organization.
Yeah. But that being said, you appear to a lot of women as or people in the business as somebody who's still learning. That you don't ever come off as listen to what I've been through it all. You're open to that reciprocity with relationships.
For sure.
Different points of views in the business. So it's not to say that when people require a certain amount of mentorship from you, is that you're saying that I've been through it all, I know it all myself.
Exactly, not at all. And in fact, that's the really wonderful thing about working with so many younger people, and iTOO generally does have a sort of a younger profile in terms of the employees here, is what you learn, you see all the time. And just like I learn from my own children all the time. I love that. I love seeing how different people approach things. Often they do it a lot better than I would have done it, or they just have a different perspective on the world. And that is great. I absolutely love that about iTOO.
Yeah.
It really is a good thing. And you're quite right, it's a two-way street. It's not just about you giving. I mean, I get as much as I give, if not more so, from working here.
I would say that you always appear to me as somebody who marches to the beat of their own drum. You're an individual always within a group of people. Has that been something that came naturally to you, not to necessarily assimilate, especially when you're speaking about the corporate life and the transition there, that it may have been a little bit of a challenge in the legal framework, but
yes.
How do you keep that authenticity and not feel that, well, I have to behave in a certain way, I have to dress in a certain way, I have to...
Sure.
Is that something innate, or did you have something you learned over time?
I think it's a little bit... It's innate, actually, I guess. It's not something I've learned over time. I think I've always kind of just been who I am because I don't really know how to be anyone else. And yes, I've been lucky and I guess a little deliberate to try and be in environments where that is not only allowed, but perhaps appreciated.
Yes.
So I've been fortunate to get that right from the start. When I moved across to Hollard, as I said at that stage, was not your typical corporate. They were doing really different things. They had interesting structures in place from a management point of view. The CEO was quite kind of out there, different, innovative. So I immediately, that organization resonated with me. And I was able to be myself there. And I've been lucky that that's just been able to continue. And I guess I've been within Hollard and now iTOO for so long that it's become inseparable, really, in terms of, well, this is me, and everyone knows, that that's the way it is. And of course you can change and improve, and I hope that I do try to do that. But I've been fortunate to have been able, and I guess that's the trick, right?
Yeah.
Find your space, find your niche where you can be you to the extent that you're authentic to yourself, without having to compromise on the important things. Obviously, some compromise is needed, but on the kind of really important things, it's lovely to be able to just be who you are. And I think if that comes across and you're able to do that, it's powerful in terms of how you engage with people and how they view you.
Mm-hmm. You can only show up as your best self if you are yourself.
I guess.
Unless you're a terrible person, then, we may just ask you,
yes,
please change.
And as I say, that doesn't mean that you just do as you like and you say, well, that's me, Obviously, there are compromises, there are other people you need to be able to accommodate.
Yeah.
But yes, as I say, I think your core self, is kind of normally just that's the way it is. And if you can bring that and be that, it's just so much easier. I would find it enormously stressful to constantly try to be something that I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be really bad at it, which is why I try to avoid it if possible.
Some of the challenges that you've taken on in your life are just also passions that have seen you to get you to where you are today.
Yeah.
You've done over 20, well, it was called the Argus, and now it's called...
Yes, the Cape Town Cycle Tour.
Yes. Where did that love for cycling come from, and how do you find yourself... I mean, over 20 is a lot. But you keep getting back on that bike.
I do. I've always loved cycling, even as a kid, and even high school when it was really seriously uncool to be riding a bike.
Really?
as a young woman. I've loved it. For me, it's a little bit like flying. I mean, it's the closest you get to flying. You're sort of using your own power, and there's an enormous sense of freedom and kind of having the wind in your hair and all those good things. So yeah, I've always loved cycling. We did our first Argus on my honeymoon, in fact, of all things, way back when, and we just enjoyed it so much that barring being pregnant or being overseas or away or something, we've continued to do them. So yeah, I've done about 23 now. We go down every year and make a bit of a holiday of it, and do the Cape Town cycle tour. And it is absolutely magnificent. Riding a bicycle through that spectacular scenery is just wonderful. Every year we hear people who've come from overseas specifically to participate in the race just being absolutely wowed by Cape Town and the beautiful scenery around there. It's we're very privileged to be able to do that. So we really enjoy it. It's really cool.
But that's taken a lot of discipline to. I mean,
it's not that bad actually to ride. It's easy. It's like riding a bicycle. It's like riding a bicycle. That's how easy it is.
Ask me to do that. You're getting very different answers. So just the consistency that you have. What has cycling taught you about yourself, and how has it added to your life?
Yeah, I guess there's an element of discipline in I mean, we're not, champions or doing the sport in any kind of real kind of, sense. It's just for relaxation and leisure riding. But there is an element of discipline because you do need to get to a certain level of fitness to be able to enjoy it. And I guess the appreciation of being able to go to places where you wouldn't go in a car, and seeing the beauty, and in a group and riding with other people, just a sense of paying attention to them, making sure as a group you're all okay. And then a certain amount of resilience when things get tough, being able to dig deep and finish, even though you may not feel like you can, to be able to do that. So, it's a good thing to do.
Maybe one day I'll join you. Let's watch the space, guys. You are somebody who enjoys a challenge, I would say. Would you agree with, monotony is not necessarily for you?
I like change, routine is a bit of a killer for me, so I do like things to change up a bit, I find it just kind of motivates me if things are a little different.
So I
get bored easily.
Which is, that's fair.
Yeah.
I would say it's 3 years ago that you embarked on a really big challenge in the iTOO space by launching a new product.
Yeah, it's 2 years actually.
2 years.
So 3 years when we started working on it, but about 2 years since we actually produced it as a product.
Yes. Did you have a burning desire to, throw something new into the insurance landscape? You always thought about these things. You just needed the opportunity to do so. How is it that the Sure Thing journey came about? And tell us a bit about Sure Thing and this passion project of yours, which is doing amazing.
Yeah, I think I do kind of, my mind sort of ticks like that. I like to think of new things. Sometimes they're completely wacky off the wall and have no practical application whatsoever. So I do enjoy that kind of thinking. And while we were looking at moving into a digital initiative as iTOO and putting products onto a digital platform, while we were thinking about that, it was just, how do we come up with something that's a little different, that's not just the same as putting our usual products into a digital format. And that's really what got Sure Thing moving in my head. And it's been exciting, it's been interesting, it's been lovely to not just have an idea, but to be able to implement it and have the support of management and the rest of the team in getting it front and center in terms of our digital initiatives. And getting the ability now to pretty much be doing that full time, which is a fabulous opportunity to have from our shareholders and our management team to be able to really kind of get stuck into making sure it's a success. And does the things it's supposed to do. And Sure Thing is just the start. There are, I'm sure, going to be many iterations and forms of it moving forward. I see lots of opportunity to take the product as it started initially and kind of really expand on what it can do and how it's applied.
Who's the product geared towards?
I think it'll always be to a certain extent for small businesses because that's really what the thinking was about. That doesn't mean we can't apply it in other situations, but I think it's probably most appropriate for a small business really to give them an opportunity to access the products they don't normally look at and to do that in an affordable and accessible way. So really it's all of your liability covers all in one that they're able to get in a single policy, which I think is really great for a small business at an affordable price.
And I think it's going to affect a lot of change in how we view insurance as well.
Absolutely. I see it as a bit of a disruptor and which makes it a challenge as well because you're trying to fit something that's quite different into quite a traditional environment. So that is a challenge, but I think that's part of the fun, right? Is trying to figure it out.
Yeah. starting a new product requires a lot of entrepreneurial thinking, and it's not going to just get itself off of the ground.
Yes.
Do you find that you're somebody who has been adept to that type of thinking before? Because launching a product is like launching a little business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. I mean, part of my frustration with the law side of things was it's a little bit of an ivory tower. So you kind of pronounce on things, and you look at the law and you apply it to a specific situation, and you would give legal advice. But that's where it ended. And then the client had to go and actually, apply it and make it happen and the like. So for me, it's really nice to be involved more on the business side of things. And that's what I've enjoyed as well, is transitioning into insurance. Although it was group legal counsel, my role now is very much involved in terms of, a product and selling that product and being in charge of that product. So I've really enjoyed the business side of things. And I think that's always been something that's appealed to me, is to not just kind of be academic and just look at things from the outside, but to actually get involved. And on the entrepreneurial side, it's weird because I've worked for corporate and business entities and not really had my own business. But I think my thinking has, although I haven't been an entrepreneur per se, I think my thinking has always been entrepreneurial. So even when I was a lawyer with Hollard, I'd like to try and bring in the business side of things and make sure that whatever legal structures we were putting in place worked for the business as well. And if they could give us a strategic advantage or put us ahead of where others were, that was the sort of thing that really kind of turned me on, that I enjoyed, was solving problems like that. So I think that kind of thinking, that sort of problem-solving thinking, is kind of entrepreneurial in a way, because you're kind of looking at a situation and think, how can I make it better? And then hopefully, putting your weight behind actually getting that to happen. So I think that's sort of how entrepreneurial people work. So not quite the entrepreneur, but certainly I'd like to think some sort of entrepreneurial thinking.
I definitely think it's something that iTOO inculcates into everyone who works here, to say, this isn't just a job where we want you to clock in on a timesheet and clock out. Think of what you do as your own business.
Absolutely.
And how you can contribute effectively to that. So that's not something that always happens in other workplaces. It's a privilege that we enjoy, and something that I think benefits a lot of people.
Absolutely.
But it also comes with its challenges. How do you think that you keep yourself resilient and, through the ups and downs of doing something new? You can sort of get bogged down a bit to be like, what am I doing here really?
I guess, but the beauty of it, and I guess, where we have an advantage, is you kind of have this safety net that you are working within an organization that is, provided you haven't done something extraordinary, stupid, and haven't given it thought, are very supportive of that kind of thinking. And as long as you've kind of really put your best effort forward and you've given a situation thought, that you have the support of the organization and hopefully the team around you as well. So we do have an advantage there, I guess. You're not out there on your own trying to make a business work. I think we're all aligned. We're invested in the business, and that's kind of led to the good results that we see. People are rewarded for kind of taking initiatives and pushing it a bit, because they can really see the tangible results. And I guess that's also the beauty of being in a bit of a smaller organization, is your impact is meaningful and felt and seen. Sometimes larger corporates, you can get a little lost, whereas I'd like to think with iTOO, that there's an awareness that goes on with what people are doing and how they're contributing. So, that's all good things.
I feel uniquely lucky in that my insurance journey started in a place like iTOO, which I can't imagine what it would have been like outside of that. And all of that that has solidified how far rooted we are in iTOO is also the culture and the relationships that we've built here.
Sure.
What does that mean to you? And, for example, you're part of the iTunes. Which is the band that we have at iTOO, which, I don't know, you've performed at year-end functions, you've performed sort of...
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, you have a little bit of a practice session.
Yes.
How does that contribute to your work-life balance?
No, I think it's lovely. I mean, I think it's a good example of how we are different as an organization. I used to play in a garage band when I was in high school, and then sort of stopped playing for a while. And in fact, Hollard also had a band called the Hiccups, HIC, Hollard Insurance Company. And I played in that band briefly before it was no longer. And then joining iTOO, I knew that Jonathan Healy was a really talented guitarist, and I just felt like it would be fun to have a band. So we started to chat and basically formed iTunes. And it's been excellent. It's been lovely. I've got to know our singers, Sinatemba and Sejo, really well. I don't know that I would have had that much to do with them normally.
In different areas of the business.
In different areas of the business. And suddenly we're kind of our own mini team in a very different environment. But it's lovely. And you know, the skills and the ability, the things you do in a band are sort of resonate. It's how people work in a business as well. It's getting your timing right. It's communicating. It's working hard together. And then ultimately, you know, putting on a show that you hope people will enjoy. And I guess that's a little bit like a business and like iTOO. You know, you come together, you try and get your timing right, you work hard, and ultimately you produce something that you're proud of.
We have thoroughly enjoyed your performances. As dramatic as it sounds, to the point of tears.
I think you're very tolerant. I think you're a very tolerant audience. That's the beauty. I sometimes feel like we perform. You know, it's like your kid performing for the family, and everyone cheers. And I feel like that's a little bit with that too. They are very they are a very appreciative audience. So we're very grateful for that.
It strikes an emotional chord for whatever reason. We're looking forward to an album of covers. Think about it. But it's bass guitar that you play.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And so before this iTunes journey, had you sort of just picked it up every now and then, or did you really start to recommit once this came about?
So yes, I mean, I had left it alone for a while, and every now and then I pick it up and play. But the beauty of being in the sort of iTunes band is you don't want to make a complete fool of yourself on the stage. So it's been a really good motivating factor is to make sure that you kind of practice so that when you get up there, you've got it together and you don't look like a complete idiot. So it is very motivating knowing that there's a performance ultimately because you want it's not only about yourself, you want the rest of the band to look good as well and for it to be fun, and for people to enjoy it. Yeah.
Again, marching to the beat of your own drum. You guys don't have a drummer though.
No, we don't. We do need a drummer, yeah. And in fact, we could do with a lot. We could do with the
percussionist.
Yeah, keyboards.
Triangles.
We could certainly do with some new band members. So yeah, that would be great. It would be lovely to get some more people on board.
We really do enjoy it, and we appreciate all the contribution that you bring to not only iTOO but the market as a whole. Because, as I said, it's a specialist liability, such a small sector of insurance, and we tend to all know each other. And you really have paved your own path within that. So, thank you so much for all that you do. She'll continue to, sing to her own tunes. But Melita, thank you so much for making the time, and there's lots more to come.
It's absolutely a pleasure. Thanks so much, Mamoeti.
Thank you.